Media Days tomorrow. We have seen the Mountain West Conference have theirs. The Big 12 has had theirs. And, of course, the SEC dragging theirs out. And I don't say that negatively, but they're now, of course, wrapping theirs up in Nashville, Tennessee. So David Ubben, theathletic.com national college football writer, joins us on 365 Sports. Craig Smoak, David Smoak, and Paul Catalina. David, thanks for your time. The Pac-12, as you know, has had a summer or even winter, spring and summer, where a lot of questions are surrounding whether or not what their media deal will be. And they have their media day tomorrow. What do you expect George Kliavkoff to say, even though there are reports that he's not going to mention anything about the media deal as far as any kind of number or deal?
Stop me if you've heard this before, but they're close. I think you can hear we're very close. I feel like that's going to be the word of the day at Pac-12 Media Day tomorrow.
David, do you think that even though they say they're going to have a deal to announce, that George Kliavkoff will have something of substance to say about it, or that he's going to have to kind of run in circles around it?
No, I mean, there's nothing to say. At the end of the day, you're going to have to find a number, and that number is either going to please your membership or not please your membership. And if it doesn't, I think there's a decent chance the league's winner. So obviously, it's a huge deal. Our shop reported earlier this week that they have a new person that was not participating, or a new entity that was not participating in the rights deals before. So we'll see if that affects it. It's always good to have, more people bidding for your services. That always drives up the price. So we'll see. But at the end of the day, they'll have the number at some point, and it's either going to be good enough or not good enough. And there's no way to really say anything. You can sort of say, well, we're confident, we like what we have, we're confident in the future of the league. But of course, they're going to say that at the end of the day. You got to have the rubber meet the road at some point, but I don't think we're at that point just yet.
So, David, going into Pac-12 Media Days, I mean, they obviously, if this wasn't a story at all, they'd have plenty still to talk about. Just, the group of quarterbacks, the teams that are going to be ranked in the top 25, things of that nature, USC and UCLA's big exit. Where's kind of your focus or your points of interest entering Media Day, I should say, not Media Days for the Pac-12?
I think that this is going to be the league that has the best quarterbacks in the country by a wide margin. There's going to be a lot of points scored in the Pac-12 this year. It's going to be a really fun league, in football and games that are worth staying up for. So I think you have to kind of lean into that. I mean, obviously, Caleb Williams is a headliner, but you look at Michael Penix, you look at Bo Nix. We'll see what Dante Moore can do, obviously. The Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders pairing at Colorado is interesting in its own way. So there's a lot of great quarterbacks. There's going to be a lot of great football played, and the Pac-12 does have that. We're going for it right now.
Texas and Oklahoma join the SEC next year. They still have a year in the Big 12. David, what was, in your opinion, perhaps the biggest storyline coming out of the SEC's 4 days?
I mean, it was a pretty boring few days. I mean, I think, coming in, certainly how Georgia would handle about their offseason was sort of the most interesting thing, and nobody really pressed them on that, so we didn't get a lot. I think, Lane Kiffin obviously made the today, talking about, all of the NIL issues that have befallen the sport, but I don't think he's saying anything that anybody hasn't said before, so I don't think that's really groundbreaking. I mean, it was a pretty quiet week overall.
Yeah, David, Georgia Kirby Smart did address that, and I know that there are some things going on at the AJC right now that, might alleviate some of the pressure on them when it comes to the reporting of that. But is this a case of, look, you've won back-to-back titles, you're kind of a rock star team now, and this is what he's going to have to continue to deal with?
Well, I mean, hopefully you're dealing with fair reporting if it's going to be critical, certainly. I think I get their frustration with that. And a lot of their points, when you have sort of a point-by-point refutation of a lot of the facts, and, when it turns out that the core fact of the sexual assault story is seemingly not something that can be corroborated, where you have, a claim that they have 11 guys that face, allegations of sexual assault or violence against women, and you only name 2, there's a third that we know of, and the other 8 nobody can seem to figure out. That's a problem. So, I don't think it's going to be a routine thing that they have to deal with, questionable reporting. but certainly you're dealing with a microscope. And when you have players speeding and obviously, the deaths in January and the lack of, stopping speeding over the end of that, that's a problem.
David, who do you eye in the SEC West, this debate over, we've been awaiting Alabama's downfall for like a decade now, it seems at this point, to no avail. LSU, obviously, super hot season last year with Brian Kelly. How do you view that battle out west with some interesting other contenders?
I don't even think it's a debate. I think LSU's clearly better. Don't shovel dirt on the Alabama dynasty just yet. I think they're a quarterback away from being really, really scary again. But right now, LSU is in better shape, and I think it's clearly the best team in the West right now.
David Ubben, again, athletic.com, with us on 365 Sports. Your thoughts about the Big 12 with Texas a favorite? And it's been a while, and it's been a while since they won the conference in 2009. What are your thoughts about the expectations, which are always pretty high, but seem like they're higher than they have been? And then maybe a dark horse, in your opinion, that because the Big 12's had Oklahoma State, Baylor 2 years ago, TCU, Kansas State last year. Is there a dark horse pick for you?
I mean, I like Texas Tech to win the whole thing, honestly. I get the Texas, certainly the best team. I think they would not surprise me if they win it, but I think ultimately, to me, I like Texas Tech. I'm buying that hype.
What in particular about it do you think that they'll be that much improved on defense, and will they be able to win on the road this year?
Texas or Texas Tech?
Tech.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look around at Texas Tech, and I think you certainly are bringing back plenty of talent. I like the marriage between Zach Kittley and Tyler Shuck, and I think that jumps off the page at me. And certainly, that's a team that can really contend. And I think I like the toughness that Joey McGuire has installed in that program. I know that there's a lot made of losing Tyree Wilson, but Jalen Hutchings, Tony Bradford Jr. are back. I like that mix, and they did well in the portal. So, ultimately, I think Tech is well positioned to do some things that people have been waiting for a long time in Lubbock.
David, if we rewound a couple years back to when the Texas-Oklahoma news broke and you were to kind of tell David Ubben back then of what the Big 12 would look like 2 years fast-forwarding to where they are right now, would you have been shocked? Would you have thought, okay, that sounds about right? I mean, just kind of how do you feel about the trajectory, especially given how grave things seemed just a couple summers ago?
Well, I mean, I think it's not even really an issue dealing with the Big 12. I mean, just the entire people have been calling it realignment. I always tell people consolidation is a better word for it. And the SEC and the Big 10 have put themselves back out in front and made themselves that, hey, if you're not in this league, you're not at the adult table of college football. And we've seen the Power Five begin to consolidate into a Big Two. And I don't think I think for a long time, back 10 years ago, there was all this talk about, we're going to have 4 super conferences. Now there was only 2 super conferences, and that was hard to foresee in the time being. But people are always sort of going to be chasing the money, and right now the Big Ten and the SEC are so far out in front that that's just what's driving a lot of these decisions.
David, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. Glad we were able to fit you in today. Appreciate it.
For sure. Thank you guys. Appreciate
David
it.
Ubben, theathletic.com, with us on 365 Sports. Craig's Off the Radar is a